You're listening to Long Talks with Hannah Mae
and Charlie J.
I'm a full-time musician.
And I'm in business marketing.
Together, we're two young adults who started a podcast on a broken couch.
Every week, we talk life, mental health, relationships, music, and much more.
Occasionally, we'll have a guest on and dive into their life as well.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
I sang it.
Good job.
I haven't heard Dax Shepard in a while.
I haven't either. And actually, the other day, I saw that Leslie Oldham Jr. is on an episode. They just recorded it. And so I was like, oh, man, I need to go back because I want to listen to that one specifically. And then I'm sure that there have been some other people. I just go through phases. And right now, I'm a true crime mood. So I'm listening to Crime Junkie currently.
Yeah, which
Plug
is like, is that new?
No, it's been around for a while. I just recently got into it.
Yeah, because you had been working at home a lot, like everybody in the world.
Like everyone in the world.
And I would come down and hear your crime podcast, and it's like, you're listening to people getting murdered while you're marketing.
There's something so weird about how hearing about a crime that has happened to someone else.
Yeah.
And a situation that has happened to someone else. One I find interesting because it's like a mystery, and I like mysteries. But also, there's something about, and this is terrible, but there's something about horrendous things happening to other people that make me feel better.
About your own life?
Well, just about being like safe. Like,
oh yeah.
You know, like thank God nothing like that has happened to me.
Also, there's a psychological aspect of it. I love the psychology of figuring out what pushed someone to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess they don't really get.
Or do they not get into
in
that?
this particular podcast, they don't really get into it. I'm sure that there are others that do that.
Well, we just finished what was it called? Golden State Killer thing, which was awesome on HBO. And they went into a little bit, which I was like split on because I wasn't sure if I wanted to know what made him a monster, but I also kind of found it a little bit interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, you're not born like that. Nobody is like...
Well, then you get into the whole nature versus nurture thing.
Yeah.
I think that there are some that, yes, you are a product of your environment. You are a product of how you've grown up and who you're surrounded by. But also, like, I feel like there is something in our nature that makes you go in a certain lean in certain situations, and only very, 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 very small portion of people. I feel like
for someone like that to be a serial killer, like all the
stars have to align.
Yeah, but like all like the casino like sevens had to like be in order, you know.
Cherry.
Like
cherry.
Because like he must not have had a great. And this is turning into a true crime podcast.
Yeah.
This is not what this podcast is about, but we just love watching true crime stuff.
Yeah.
But I will not do a true crime podcast. Yeah. That seems like it's intense.
No.
Intensive.
No. Let's start now.
We already started.
Oh, okay.
This is what we talk about. Like we would talk about anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
yeah, we do. We talk about everything. We talk about
we live together or whatever.
We're like in love. It's
fun.
We're
getting married.
Yeah. We are getting married.
Sometime next year, I guess.
Hopefully.
Everyone, do you have? I mean, you have friends of yours who are getting married this year. Right?
No.
Or did they all push it back?
Acquaintances more than friends.
Right.
But most of them have. So a gentleman that I actually work with, they were supposed to they're actually getting married, and I'm saying that with air quotes. You guys can't see this, but I'm saying it with air.
Married.
They're getting married in their backyard with just their parents and a justice of the peace.
Oh, that's right.
And then next year they will do the whole like ceremony and
the party. Yeah, we were at my sister's wedding. Was that 19? Yeah, that was when we lived in California for a little bit, and it was a whole thing. But yeah, we came back, and there was like probably 80 people in that barn or something.
Oh, there was more than 80 people. There was probably 150 people at that wedding.
Yeah, there was a lot.
There was a lot.
And now that's like so taboo. It's like,
well, I mean, I was
because obviously just pandemic.
Just the pandemic has changed life as we know it. It's created obstacles and created habits that you would never think about it before this. But
what's a habit that you've picked up?
I've picked up
in the pandemic, yeah.
In the pandemic, when I leave, I gotta make sure I got that mask. It's like phone, obviously. Keys, wallet, mask. Gotta make sure that's gone. But it's, I've never been an anxious person. I've had some difficulty with depression, but anxiety has never been something that I have struggled with. And this has caused me to have anxiety.
Right.
It's caused me to, when I'm walking through the grocery store, not that we do that anymore. We do ClickList now. We do. We just order it online.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this, when we first got back to Kentucky and I was actually going into the grocery store, being close to people, being in that proximity of someone that I don't know, would give me anxiety.
Yeah.
Because there's so much unknown.
Yeah, that's what's scary about it, and that's what unfortunately drives people to not even worry about it. Like they're not wearing masks because they're like, it inconveniences my life too much to put a mask on, which it's inconvenient, but doing it for a reason. We're not just doing it like, look at all the other countries in the world and then just look at us. I mean,
well, I think it's very telling that in other countries, first of all, people weren't even allowed to go outside of their own living situations for a while. We have always been able to at least go out for a walk, at least go to a park.
Right.
They might have roped off the swing sets and some picnic tables, but essentially we've always been able to go for a walk if we wanted to in a park. Other countries, that's not been the case. Sure. And also, they've just recently, like within the last week or so, I think, in Kentucky specifically, had a mask requirement for being out when you're out in public.
Is the fine still only $25?
$25 in other countries, and I think a friend and I would have to fact check this, but a friend of mine told me that they were fining them up to 5,000 euros. And then also, like, there's real $25 is nothing. Okay, not nothing to some people, but
it's nothing to prevent a.
Well, it's just there's no real enforcement.
We also haven't had anything to compare it with, except for our generation. I mean.
Correct.
So we are like, also we come from a place of where we can we're like a padded generation. You know what I mean? Like we are like the generation before us, like with our parents and their parents, they were kind of like, okay, get up, you go to work, you could get your paycheck, go home.
I think it's actually, my opinion is actually it's the opposite. I think we've had so much bullshit in our life and we've survived it that we're just like, oh, well, we'll just survive this next thing. I was in middle school when 9/11 happened. I remember it specifically. High school, 9th grade. I was in high school.
In 3rd grade.
Shut up. You're so young.
Whatever.
We've gone through the recession, but every single time our generation, we have come out to the other end and been
I would argue that our generation didn't go through the recession, that my parents' generation went through. Our parents' generation went through that. More so than we did. I mean.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right.
Well, no, but it's one of those. It's a lasting effect of because of that we had to take out student loans and credit cards, and so now we are all in debt. I was just talking to a woman at work today about how we hate our apartment and want to move.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, there's this really cute place that's in a neighborhood right down the street from me that's for sale. And I was like, I'm in no place to be buying a house right now.
By the way, if our landlord's listening, we love it. It's great. It's so spacious. We came from a 900 square foot apartment in California, Rancho Cucamonga, California.
Yes.
And we saw 2,000 square feet, and then we were just like, oh. And it was $500, $600 less monthly.
It was half. No. You're right. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
Because this is one thing.
Yeah.
This is 16, and then
the one was 2,000. So yeah. That was.
Yeah, and then they were going to bump it.
Yeah, they were going to bump
like 21 or something.
That was. Yeah.
But it was also just very congested there, and
it was in a complex which we didn't like.
We hated. That was the first complex we lived in.
And it was just the entire apartment could have fit in our upstairs of this place.
I wanted to ask you something, and I don't think I've ever asked you this before. Will you marry me?
Yes. You have asked me that several times.
Yeah. So, like, in California, you were not on any kind of medication.
Correct. Well, I ran out.
So you ran out, and you just didn't find a good doctor?
Well, I ran out.
Right.
And by the time I got to, I tried to get back on it. So I was on Wellbutrin for several years. So my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2017, in April of 2017. And because of my past history from college, I knew that I needed help. So I immediately went to my doctor and asked to be put on Wellbutrin. Can we use
brands? We just gave our apartment rent, so I'm sure we can say, yeah, it's a popular thing, right?
Okay, I'm sure.
Are you worried people don't know it?
Well, I'm afraid of like copyright infringement.
Oh no, this is fine. We're talking about
okay. No. They're not going to sue us. Okay, well.
And if we get that big where they hear it, then I'm happy because we're that big.
Okay. Anyway, so I was on it. They put me on 150, and then in October of that year, the chemo was not doing what it was supposed to be doing, and so the decision was to go off of it.
Yeah.
And so I knew that the rest of the year was going to be really tough, which it was. So I went to a double dose. So I went up to 300 milligrams.
Yeah. Which was that recommended by your doctor? Or did you just specifically ask?
I specifically asked. Okay. The thing that, because of, I know myself and I know when I'm going into a place that I can't get out of without help.
Yeah.
I know when I'm heading towards that in that direction. And that has taken a lot of self-realization, self-inward look, and all that kind of stuff.
You have to do it so many times.
You do. You have to. You have to go through it and experience it.
Sucks, but
I went through a very dark time in college, and I learned a lot about myself in that time. So I felt myself going in that direction of not being able to function in real life, of being only wanting to sleep all day or lay on the couch and watch TV, not actually participate in life.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I have never experienced suicidal thoughts. I have only ever wanted to isolate, to shut off, and to just blob.
Yeah.
That's my comfort.
Yeah.
When I'm in a very dark place.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I never had the suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
But so back to 2017, we met in that year, right?
Correct. We met New Year's Eve 16 into 17.
Right.
Yes.
And when was your dad officially off of what month? Do you remember?
So it was in October. They took him off of chemo.
Have you talked to your mom about that? What kind of decision that was like for her, or what? Not, it wasn't her decision, but like how she dealt with that, I guess.
My mother is a very spiritual person.
She is.
She is very in tune with her feelings and herself. She does a lot of inward work, a lot of diving deep into feelings and all that kind of stuff. So she grieved the entire time.
Sure.
So it was a decision. The chemo was wreaking more havoc than it was helping. And I think that it was a decision that both of them made together.
Yeah.
And I think my dad, he fought as long as he could. But his body just wouldn't have it. So, it just gets to a point where there's nothing will help.
Yeah.
So they just didn't want to keep continuing making himself so sick and all that.
And so you were still.
So that's when I doubled my dosage because I knew I needed that help. And so he passed in December. And I stayed on the 300 milligrams into 2018 throughout the entire year. And then we moved to California at the beginning of 2019.
Yeah.
January. And it was probably February, March, something like that, when I ran out, when I was starting to run low, and I still hadn't found a doctor in that area. And so I don't think I think by the time I went to the doctor, which was probably May.
It was a while in.
It was a while.
So you were cold turkey off 300 milligrams?
Yeah, it was rough.
Holy shit. I don't remember.
Don't you remember that?
A little bit, but I don't remember you being like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm off of this medication.
Well,
it's killing me.
I think at that point, I was in such a mode of like, get up, go to work, get your shit done, come home. And it's not like we were doing anything.
Yeah.
So it was,
it kind of mirrors current situation weirdly.
No, but it was, for me, I was starting to, obviously I still have moments where I grieve for my father. I will always have those moments. But I was to a point where I could face it. Yes. Without it becoming debilitating. Uh-huh. And I am all for medication. I think if medication can help you, 100%. But for me, I was just like, I want to be able to feel things fully. Yes. And I think sometimes when we're on medication, and I think you've talked about this, how the high ends and the low ends are all dulled. Yep. You know, I feel like I wanted because I was ready to do that work, because I was ready to be able to experience that pain, but still be able to live life. Yeah, if you're ready, like, if you need to take however long it takes to be on medication, but then not get off it till you're ready to actually deal with it without it causing harm to you. Yeah, without it causing harm to you mentally. Yeah, just for the long haul. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, was that what Wellbutrin was doing for you? Was it taking off the high ends or just both? High and low? I think it was helping me. I don't think it ever dulled the high ends. Yeah. I think I still felt those fully, but it helped. Oh, there's our little kitty, if you can hear. It helped me not go so low. It helped it. There was so like caught you at a. Yeah, there was like a safety net there. Yeah. And I think sometimes, for me especially, I think sometimes you have to go into those really deep ends to learn more about yourself, to be able to recognize when you're heading towards that direction, to be able to pull yourself out. But until you know what's there, you don't know what to avoid. Right. Yeah. And I just think that, you know, because it's a maturity thing, but it's a self-realization thing, not a maturity thing, because people can be super immature and still have anyway. But I think, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm on like the lightest version of Zoloft basically. But I'm such a sensitive guy. And also since going to California, we've learned so much about like each other and how we function individually as adults, that has changed so I'm not really sure how my high school version of myself would have reacted to this medication. Right. Because that's when I needed it the fucking most. Yeah. Was in high school. And I recently told you that I've blocked out. I have clear blackout. I like blackout memory, like not blackout memories. That's a oxymoron, but like spots that are blacked out from my, because up until I was 18, I was all into sports. I was going to do sports my whole, I was going to do it like in college and then after that. But I had some really shitty coaches and they caused me a lifelong anxiety, debilitating anxiety. And that has caused me to black out certain moments in my life. So when my parents will be like, hey, do you remember this part of high school when you did this and you played these guys in basketball or whatever? And I'm like, sorry. I don't know, because after that, I was just a whole different... And now I'm doing music, so it's like a whole different life, it feels like. But this was the first one I was diagnosed with. Yeah. The first medicine. Was that... How many were you on before Wellbutrin? I've only ever tried that. It's just how many are you willing to try, I guess. Exactly. I think it's just you got to figure out what works for you and what you're able to handle. And because, a lot of my friends, they get on certain antidepressants and it makes them either gain weight or it makes them anxious or, it makes them, have really weird dreams and all this stuff. And I am so thankful that the first one that I tried worked so well for me.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the case for most people. And I really hope that this time around it's the same. Because also things could change. I've recently gone back on to the antidepressant just because I'm having such a hard time concentrating these days and no motivation.
Right.
Which I think is true for a lot of people right now. But for me in particular, I don't like that about myself.
Yeah.
And so again, that's me recognizing certain patterns and going in a certain direction and wanting to stop myself at a certain point so that I don't go into those depths. And I think that that's one thing that... Which
is great to know.
Yes.
You know? But, you know, at some point, the idea is to just, like, I have to find a therapist and I want to talk to somebody, like, regularly. And then obviously it'll be with medication at first, but eventually to get off the medication.
Well, I think for you in particular, you know, I think that because you do have those moments that you have blocked out, is the root of your anxiety.
Sure.
I think you need that professional person to help guide you through that.
Yeah, and it's just my brain's defense mechanism. Like it was just such a... It feels like it was a different life.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, like I'm a different, and obviously it was, you know, there's a whole humongous difference between someone who's 18 and someone who's 22, even though it's 4 years or whatever, 28 now. But
I was like, you were not 22.
Sorry, I was talking about the difference between high school and college.
Yeah.
Like graduating high school and graduating college, which I think is the biggest transformation as an adult, and like. I don't know. California taught me some shit, man.
Yeah. Well, I think, one, you know, not to speak for you.
You can speak for me. We know each other.
But I think that it was also the first time you left the nest.
Yeah.
Not just your parents' house, but also the place that you grew up and have known your entire life.
Yeah.
I have lived in several different cities throughout my entire thing. And I think that one helped.
Yes.
You learn more about yourself and you standing on your own 2 feet without that quote unquote safety net. So you pull yourself up through your own bootstraps and you do what needs to be done and you learn a lot about yourself.
And I'd only lived with you for 3 months. And that was the first time I moved out of my house. Like I lived with my parents till I was 26. That would make me 26 back then.
Yeah.
You know, partly because they're my partners in music and partly because honestly, it was easy. It was much easier. And they knew that too. And honestly, I mean, my parents they would have me back like right now.
Right.
Which they've told me before. And I kind of feel like, I don't know. I feel weird about that. I have mixed feelings about how I feel about that.
Really?
About how I feel about, well, you know, but I'm not there. I'm, you know, and I also think that it's because they are empty nesters as well for the first, you know, I lived with them for 26 years. So they feel like they want someone back.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think it's one of those things that as we grow up, when our parents say something, they say it from a certain perspective and we take it from a certain perspective. So from their perspective, them saying, you are always welcome back here.
Right.
We love you is because it's coming from a very loving place of course. Like if you need this, we are here for you. We are your safety net. We're always there. But for you, it's coming from a place like, oh, if you fail, I got your back up. But that's not at all what they're thinking.
Yeah, and I don't even want that. Like part of me doesn't want that plan B just because then what if plan A doesn't work out? Well, why should I even fucking bother with plan A if plan B is like, but they totally are just missing their kids. Yeah. Because we were out in California and I had like 3 or 4 mental breakdowns, had to fly back and we had a rough time being away from family.
Yeah.
It was not easy being 3,000 miles away or something.
On the other side of the world.
Whatever. It was ridiculous. It was 3 hours a different direction. I don't even know which way it was. But yeah.
Not 3 hours in a different direction.
No.
No, like 3
time zone. See, she knows what I mean because we've lived together for. Thank you for translating.
You're welcome.
Anyway, back to our introduction for this podcast. Is I wanted to start this podcast because I don't know. I wanted to talk about what people don't talk about, and I want to normalize mental illness. it's not normalized in the way that I think it should be. And I mean, we've gotten better, but it's not like everyone has it, but nobody wants to just dive deep into what, like, okay, but there's a layer past that. Like, what's the layer past that makes you go, hey, I don't want to remember these memories from high school, that makes you like black out. And honestly, I read this, and you read the book, it's right there, the orange one, or is it right there?
That's
How to Not Give a Fuck or whatever.
Oh yes, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Subtle Art. What is that?
I'm looking at an Outlander
Harry
book.
Potter?
That is not.
What is you've read Harry Potter, right?
Yes, I have. I'm like rereading it right
now. But I think that book changed my life, and I would try to explain it to my family. And every time I tried, I would break out into tears.
Really?
Because it spoke so deeply to my heart, and it like touched my heart every time I would read it, because it was like, you don't need to worry about whatever. Part of anxiety is I'm trying to control everybody else. I'm trying to be like, is everyone okay here? Oh, I hope that person didn't mean something by that. Like, saying one thing that was like offhand and then overthinking it. But, and that was the first thing that I read, because it was outside my family. I'd been inside. And if anybody from my family is listening, you're great. But
we love you very much.
But there's fucking baggage, man.
Yeah. Well, every family has baggage.
Exactly. But you gotta. I think I pinpointed it in certain point, and you've helped me with this too. Mm-hmm. But it's about, and you've also told me a lot of what I'm about to say which is since I work with my parents so closely, we make music together, which is a very intimate thing to do. They're also my parents, and when you are young, you think your parents are
infallible,
invincible, and they can't do anything wrong.
Right.
And I still thought that until I was, moved out, or, I'm still, learning that. But you have a different perspective when you're not with them all the time.
You learn that they're human beings.
You learn that they're human beings. And, makes you sad in a whole nother way.
No, I think I have to admit to you, I have not finished.
That's okay.
It. I started it and I was like, wow, this first chapter is so good. And then I never went back to it.
Well, hey, man. We can talk about that
But yes,
later.
but I think, going back to the purpose of this podcast, I think it's integrating mental health into the conversation so seamlessly as everything else. We are so comfortable talking about politics right now. We're getting more and more
even fucking money.
We're getting more, exactly, about money, about also all of these other things. But there's something about when people start talking about mental health, it is so much better than it used to be. I must say that first. Yeah. But there's still something about when you start talking about mental health that people become uncomfortable.
Yes.
That people think that there is something wrong and that there's something that people can control when that is not the case at all.
No.
Mental health is something that is not firing correctly in the chemical makeup of our brains.
Yeah.
And it's either from birth, or it's because of some trauma that has happened that is rewiring how all of this shit works in our brains. Yeah. And so we need to be comfortable talking about it in order to rewire it back to quote unquote normal, or to a place where we feel more comfortable, and a place where we are as individuals feel okay living.
Yeah. I mean, do you think, because right now, I mean, I've been
living, but.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on meds for a couple years, and it only it took a friend of mine just saying, "Hey, didn't think these meds could help," but because part of it, when I was feeling like all those debilitating feelings back in high school, you think you're alone, you think there's no medicine in the world that can help me, and I'm just you just start to get used to life like that. And I would have so many like weird habits because I was used to an anxious life and waking up with like a pit in my stomach. I couldn't eat. And it all actually weirdly revolves around sports, because I had this one coach who shoved kids in lockers and making racist comments to Asian kids on our team. And now I have it, it's just like it's like PTSD. It's a ripple effect. And even if you don't notice it all the time, it's still there.
Well, it rewired you. So any situation that even remotely could possibly be any close
helpful,
to be in any kind of situation where it's someone that is a coach or someone that is
position
trying
of
to
power.
help you, or position of power. Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for.
But
it rewired you to like, oh, I need to feel this way.
And it's because I was in 8th grade. Like I was a kid.
Yeah.
And what does that put you at? Like 11, 15,
sure,
18?
I don't know.
Not
18. I know 18
that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, and now with this pandemic, so part of the reason why I wanted to come back here was because I have a network of contacts as far as booking and musicians, because that's my whole gig. Like before we moved out to California, I was playing like 4 times a week and getting booked at these restaurants, which ironically no longer have live music. Well, currently, obviously, and then here we are. All my gigs were canceled.
Yeah,
everything was, and that, no matter how many times somebody says to me, "It's not your fault. The quarantine pandemic. Nobody could have seen this coming." I will always think, on a deep level, that it's my fault. Like I could have done something. You know what I mean? Not like the pandemic's my fault, but like
not working is your fault.
Yes.
Huh.
It's just it's just a strange feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just can't really put words into it. It's like a weird like before. So when I wake up, sometimes I have this pit in my stomach, and that's when my unconscious mind. That's before the meds have kicked in for the day. You know what I mean? So my unconscious mind is very anxious and I'm assuming it's because of the quarantine and our president. But
not president.
Let's get into politics, shall we? But yeah, it's also that weird drive, like that weird sports thing, because I was taught a lot about competitiveness and all that stuff. I just have this competitiveness that I feel like I can be doing something to making money. And I was doing DoorDash for a while, and then the numbers got so bad in Kentucky. Everyone around me, including you, was like, "You can't. What are you doing, dude? You can't." But anyway, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, you're not. You're making perfect sense.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'm just not interrupting you. That's what you're used to.
I'm not used to.
Oh, is that a dig?
Oh, on you? That's a dig on you because you interrupt me a lot.
Do I interrupt you?
No, you don't ever interrupt me.
Okay, thank you. No, I think you're right. I think it's your mind making up scenarios and thinking one thing that is not true, but because your mind is like, this is true, your whole body is like, oh my God, this is true, when it's not. Your mind is literally lying to you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between, from my perspective, the difference between anxiety and depression.
Yes.
Anxiety, your mind is lying to you. It is constantly being like, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. That person hates you. That person just looked at you wrong. They're going to murder you. It's all of these different things. Your mind is constantly giving you lies.
Yeah.
Whereas depression, it is so rooted in truth that you can't get things are bad. They suck.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's also a little lying because depression tells you it can't get better, but it can.
I was just going to say, yeah.
So maybe my analogy is not working.
I would say it's...
But I think, depression, it's just you see every angle of the truth, and that makes it harder to move past that.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's...
Yeah.
And I found that part of this, and I am on the lowest, which is weird. I'm so sensitive, and I'm a giant person. But...
A little background.
Yes.
Charlie is 6'6".
Yeah.
And I am 5'9", which is 5'8".
You 5'8"?
Well, okay, so yes.
You know what's weird? Want to hear something sidetrack story?
Yeah.
I will only... So I'm 6'6".
Right.
My dad is also 6'6". I don't know why I threw that in there. But if someone is taller than me, I will notice their height. But if everyone who's shorter than me, which is most people on Earth, I don't even notice. Like, it doesn't, because I'm so used to just looking down at people. It
doesn't phase you.
No, it's
you
weird.
Don't notice how low you're looking.
No,
because you're always looking down.
Because I've lived so many days like this. It's just like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. But it must be weird for you to look up and see this handsome guy
every day.
What?
Yes, please.
We're getting married, guys.
We are getting married.
Please come to our wedding.
Actually, don't, because we need to make room for family.
Oh Jesus! Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, honestly, like I said, I've never struggled with anxiety, but seeing how it has affected you and how debilitating it can be, it's bringing to light that I use the term anxious, and that gives me anxiety very loosely, and that is not fair at all, because that's not true.
But I think it would be weird for me to be like, I take offense to that. Like, no, because it's...
Well, no, what I'm saying is that people
have varying degrees of it. Yeah.
People are becoming too flippant with that word, so that when person does have actual anxiety and does have a anxious moment, people are like, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal because I have anxious moments, but it's because we've diluted that word.
Yeah, kind of.
I think.
But I also don't want to take anything away from people who actually do have it, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so like you're not anxious, you're just living life and you're nervous.
You're nervous.
But
this is an uncomfortable moment. It will pass. Anxiety, it lives with you, right?
Yeah, but also back to the med thing. Like I don't know what a life without anxiety is. I mean, I guess I do before like middle school, but you know, but
to be young.
I know, but like, so the med thing, like if so, like this is the first one I took, and maybe because it did the one thing that I want, then then I'm like, I can deal with whatever kind of side effects it has, which this, has side effects. It increases your sedentary, whatever. It like makes you hungry. It like, makes you more tired, and it kind of has because it's a depressant, right? What I'm on, Zoloft. But Wellbutrin kind of gives you energy, because I think my mom was on it too, so.
Maybe, I guess.
That's the one thing that I've heard about Wellbutrin, that it works as like an energy giver, if you will.
Perhaps. But I think,
Is it dulling stuff for you?
I just started today. I don't.
Well, I mean,
before.
Again.
Again, I was going through something very traumatic. And so,
do you think part of you didn't want to get on it again because you didn't want to go back to that traumatic?
No, I mean,
is that not affected at all?
I don't think it's affected me. I again, like so growing up in the family that I grew up with, growing up with my mom.
Yeah.
Who is...
Hi, Hannah's mom.
Hi, Mom. I love you. She has taught me that... Really, I grew up, my grandfather, who just passed last August, he, from a very young age, was like, we're talking about uncomfortable things. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about real things. And you better make sure that the opinion that you have is your opinion and not something that you're just parroting. So he would challenge me. And so I've grown up with that my entire life. So we are not afraid to, one, sit in silence, let someone complete their thought, and, get everything out. Because sometimes it does. It takes you a second to get everything out. We are also not afraid to talk about uncomfortable things. And my mom has done so much inner work that she has also challenged me to do some inner work. And so I think it also helps that we grew up in the church. We have that, that faith, and, we pray, we meditate, we have that kind of unseen force to help us along. And so that has helped in a lot of ways. It's given me a lot of comfort. But then because also we also recognize that sometimes you are just not able to do things by yourself. Like, you have to have that help, which is why it's okay to take medicine. Even with all the internal work, you still sometimes need some help. And sometimes you can't do that by yourself, which is why you should go to therapy.
I felt the opposite because of the way I grew up. Irish Catholic. You put that shit down, man. You bury that. Down. And boy, it's funny to say now, but that shit stacks up, man. You know what I'm saying?
Does.
And if any of my family's listening, you know what I'm talking about. But,
that stuff boils up.
Yes, and I also dealt with living at home thing. Like when my brother and sister were, Pi, you are so, okay, our cat.
It's being very
the
cute.
Cutest cat ever. She is just so not, whenever she's not involved in something.
She wants to be involved.
She wants to be involved. She's like, what do you guys, this is new. Usually you guys just come home and watch TV. I forget, what was I saying?
You were saying you grew up the opposite way. You stuffed things down.
Yeah, and I felt very self-conscious about living at home. 8 years, 9 years past, 8 years farther, past when I should have. Very, that was always underlying. Every like family get together for those 8 years or whatever.
You felt judged.
Oh, sure. And that was kind of fueling stuff for a while. And I wasn't on meds then. And yeah, I mean, it was just there. So what was my point?
I was talking about the difference between.
Oh, your family made you do inner work. And
correct.
When we visited them, they tried to make me do inner work.
Well, they wanted.
It was intense.
It's
just different.
It's different. It's different cultures, and again,
you don't realize that until you get out and beat like
and experience those other cultures.
I kind of grew up with. I don't know. My family's very close and very tight knit, and we kind of are very used to each other and how like all our dynamics together. So when we have like someone else come in or we're forced into a different dynamic. For me, at least, I just turn inward and I become anxious and I don't talk a lot. And you saw me at your grandfather's house. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and it took me a while to like warm up to you. Like it takes me a while to start talking.
I don't think that that's true. I feel like we had
around new people.
Well, I feel like. Sorry, I don't think that that's true. That you weren't comfortable around me at first.
Oh yeah, I you know what, I said that and I realized. Yeah, because we have a thing.
I mean, we're in love, so.
Well, yeah, but it's also you meet these people and they're like.
Yeah. I think sometimes you just make an immediate connection with some people, but that is not always the case. But.
You're like on the same wavelength. But
yeah. With
you, it was interesting because it literally felt like we were on the same like level as far as emotionally and what we wanted from each other and I don't know. It just felt it's just so easy to talk to, and whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Love you too. Cool.
I don't know. You know, like when you feel like you meet a person who's the other side of whatever. I'm gonna use the coin thing again.
Nice.
The other side of the coin.
Nice. Yeah.
You know?
No, I think it's interesting because again, like you grow up. As you're growing up, you're exposed to what you're exposed to in the family that you have.
Yes.
And then as you get older, you get exposed to other families. So I thought it's very interesting to me that when I visit your family and experience that you guys have this rhythm that is just like, I think it might have been the third or fourth time that I visited that I was able to jump in and contribute to a conversation.
Your mom was there too. Right? On that third one or something like that?
Maybe something. Yeah. She wasn't able to jump in because she didn't get
your
all's rhythm.
She was hilarious after it. She was like, I don't know.
But which is unusual for me because I'm a talker. Like I can hold a conversation. But
our topics, man.
Exactly. You guys, but that you guys have this second hand almost,
right.
Which is beautiful, which is wonderful, and you guys are so close, and that's so wonderful. But again, it's just the families are different.
It's just not easily adaptable. Like I can't. Like I'm so used to that. So when I go to your family's things, it is. I don't know. It just hasn't happened enough yet where I'm able to switch gears between.
Well, you have to. We're slow and steady. You know, we're my family.
Yes,
we're okay
family,
with being in silence, being, but also like letting someone.
It's Irish Catholic way.
we sometimes it takes us a second to get a thought out, and we pause in the middle of our sentences, and y'all. I hear you coming. You like to jump in immediately before one person even gets their thought out.
Because we. Oh, what the fuck was I just gonna say? Oh, damn it, I forget. But and not everything has to be a joke. With us, everything has to end with a joke, which is why it's so funny to watch my sister at these things because everyone's talking over her, she's she's the youngest, and my dad and my brother get going. It's pretty hilarious. But anyway, my point is, I need you to pull that out of me, if you know what I mean. I need you to be able to, like, in those situations, where we're at your brother's place for Christmas, or we're at your grandparents' house for the memorial, or something like that, where I'm just around your family's vibe, to be able to, like, and you're great at that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The end.
The end. I like us just like sitting, but I feel like we need more structure. I feel like no one's going to listen to this.
Well, not anymore, because you just said that. No, people are. Hey, man, we've been talking for about 45 minutes.
Nice.
An hour.
Yeah.
Who's not going to listen to this? People listen to long form podcasts that are about nothing.
That's true.
This is a lot about mental health, and it's interesting.
It is.
I find it interesting.
Good. I do too.
Thanks for the first review.
You're welcome.
Nobody's going to listen to this.
0 stars.
Says the first guest. Yeah, I really don't want it to be kind of a long rambling thing, but also I could talk about this stuff forever.
Right.
Because it's interesting to me. Because I came on late, like with meds and stuff, and
oh, my cat just bit me.
And I need to finding a therapist is a whole nother thing. Like, they're all doing this like online chat now, which is like pretty expensive apparently.
Exactly. That's the one thing that kind of breaks my heart about the society that we live in, because mental health has just recently become a non-taboo topic.
Yeah.
That I feel, and this is me getting a little political.
Get off your soapbox.
But I feel like the capitalistic nature that is the United States has taken advantage of the fact that now people are more willing to get help, but they want to make a profit off of that.
Right.
And I think that that's so unfair. I understand that these therapists need to get paid. I get that. They had lots of hours of work in school and also clinical whatever doctors have to do and all that kind of shit. But I feel like our country needs to really, it's the insurance. It's insurance. I'm going on a tangent.
Now no one's really going to listen. You know what? You are correct, because I had to re-up for Kentucky Medicaid, and it was fucking hard.
Yeah.
They make it so hard just to get free insurance.
Yeah.
And they pair you with this doctor. I have not had an appointment with him yet. I don't know who knows if he's going to be good. Basically because I can't work right now, I have free health insurance, and I am going to be paired with who knows what kind of a therapist or anybody, or like medication or doctor like that I'm going to be with. So
I am glad that all of these online and through texting and FaceTime therapists are available, because I think our generation is a little bit more comfortable with having that barrier, maybe? I don't know. Instead of like sitting in a room with someone.
I don't think I couldn't do a text one. I don't know about doing a text one. Could you do that?
I think there are some moments where it's easier to text something, because you can also edit yourself that way, which is not good for therapy.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
But at least it
well, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to be able to edit myself. I want to be able to look someone in the eye and just.
But also, like, for me, I realized, because I went through my job, we were given the opportunity where there's you could go for 6 visits for free to someone in therapy. I think there's also one for there's a lawyer. There's like all these different aspects where you get 6 free visits of something. There's like a financial advisor. There's a bunch of them, and one of them was therapy. And because I was grieving my father's death, I was like, I need this. And I think it takes time for you to become so comfortable with someone that you can bear it all. And I feel like had it been via text or there was some sort of barrier, I think I would have let loose things earlier. Because, but I think that having that, because I feel like sometimes having a barrier actually allows me to be more open about some things and still edit myself with other things. Like it seems counterintuitive, but that's just the way my mind works, I guess. Because like sometimes, for example, before we were together, and I was on Bumble, I could be a little bit more risque than I normally would be via text. But once we got in person, that's when I was like,
but what about a therapist?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like I can be a little bit more open about certain things because they don't have to I don't have to look them in the eye.
But is that true then? Like, you know what I mean? Like
for some people, I think it is. Like that's why that's a thing now. I think some people are more comfortable with that.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know.
But at the same time, I think it's a little counterintuitive because then you always have that safety net of being able to edit yourself, and you need to be able to be more comfortable and have that therapist dig deep.
But I also like the idea of being able to just text a therapist at any point and just being like, hey, I had a really shitty day.
Yeah.
And then they're like, just,
I think that's
although I can do that with you, so yeah,
I'm your therapist. You're welcome. But I think that's so our generation. You know what I mean?
Weird,
like our generation is very much like, I feel this thing right now. Let me get it out. I'm gonna just text someone real quick.
Huh.
And I think that's where that exists now,
right?
Where it hasn't in the past.
Yeah.
But I still think going to an in-person therapist is the best way to do it. It's just too expensive. Thank you, stupid insurance.
It's too expensive to find the good ones, man.
Yeah. Well, the good ones should. I mean, again, it's like it's one of those things where it's worth spending the money for your health.
Yeah.
But I do wish some of the good ones would just be like, you know what I offer is too valuable. I should just give it away.
I wonder if, and that makes me think of during the pandemic, are some of the good ones maybe doing it for lesser of a price or like pro bono kind of stuff?
Oh, I don't know.
So many people are not working.
Yeah. Well, I know that a lot of doctors are going to virtual things. So maybe they've been forced to.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't know if they're going to give a discount for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to talk to my guy. Apparently, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Consult your person, you know.
Hey, isn't this a form of therapy?
It is.
Kind of.
It is kind of, yeah.
You know, we're not getting paid therapy bucks.
Nope.
Not yet.
I have no basis other than my own opinion on things.
But you have a whole life that
True.
you can base it on, and you have 26 years. How old are you?
33. Get the fuck out of here with your 26.
She is
older
than my brother. Than my older brother.
I am. I'm the
Isn't that
eldest?
It's not weird. It's not weird at all. Like for me, it's not weird at all.
I feel like a lot of times I forget, except for very
specific times
when it's so blatant that you are younger than I am. And
I pull out a toddler's like a rattle. It's just like, what are you doing? I guess so. Maybe it's different because you're farther along in your journey.
Thank you. That's a nice way of putting that I'm older than you. But no, I think something, for me in particular, something happened on this side of 30 where something clicks for me.
Yeah.
Where I have become more comfortable in my own skin. I've become more in tune with who I am.
Yeah.
And sometimes I forget that we have different life experiences, and that you might not necessarily have learned the lessons that I have in my life. Yeah,
that's true. But you also haven't lived my life.
Correct.
10 years on the road playing shitty bars with people yelling at you, that makes you grow up real fucking quick,
Right.
As a musician, and I'm by myself, like, and that's part of the anxiety comes in there, because I have done this like 5 or 10 times in the 10 years, 11 years that I've been doing this. I'm not counting this year. But I would literally pull up, see a bunch of drunk assholes walk into the bar. I would walk into the bar, be like, hey, just got a family emergency. I can't do it. I did this with you once.
You did.
And you were there, and you were totally supportive. But yeah, I've done that multiple times. Like, and I have gotten shit for it. Like people have called me and like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like you are a professional. And I can't explain it to anybody.
Because of the anxiety?
Yeah. This is all before medication and stuff. I was living at home and,
Since you've been on medication, have you bailed on a gig?
No.
Because of feeling anxious? No.
No.
Right.
I almost bailed it on once because I was playing a party and they weren't fucking wearing their masks during the pandemic.
Well, you didn't necessarily bail on a gig. You did leave to go back home because of your anxiety and had to miss a gig.
Which one?
When we were in California.
I had to miss 2 gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was then. Was I off my...
Were you off your meds at that point?
Maybe, I forget. But yeah, and as soon as I got back, I was like, what am I doing? This is the stupidest thing in the world. You're an idiot. Go, but just, And while I was there, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I just, I shouldn't have been there. Like, it was the weirdest feeling in the world. And it was the first time that I had done anything like that. So I was just like, anyway. But, yeah, it was a lot. California was a lot, man.
It was hard. But we learned a lot about ourselves and also each other as a couple.
Yeah.
And
We're
learned
famous now.
To endure. What'd you say?
Nothing. See, I have to make a stupid joke because we're talking about serious
stuff.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're here.
Yeah.
Trapped. Well, you're back at work, so.
I am.
For every other week.
4 days.
For 4 days.
Yep.
And yeah, we could talk about that too. The difference between you working at home and you working.
Yeah, it's been really interesting having worked from home and then going back into the office.
Because we moved back here while the pandemic was happening
in
March. So it was just the lockdowns were just starting.
Correct.
We wiped down hotel rooms.
Yes.
Oh God.
We came in with, I don't know, were we wearing masks or just?
No, I don't think so.
I think we were wearing gloves.
Yeah.
Not masks.
Nope, and we would just wipe everything down.
And we would wipe everything down. Yeah, no, so the company that I work for has a location in California and also a location in Cincinnati. I started in the Cincinnati, was given an amazing opportunity to work out of the California office. Working out of the California office, I grew and learned so much about myself career-wise, but I just couldn't, being so far from family, and the office wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. It wasn't the same culture as I was used to out of Cincinnati. So with everything going on, just the scales of either staying or coming back, it was so blatantly obvious that we needed to come back. So we moved back to Cincinnati. So I'm back in the Cincinnati office.
Yeah.
But I was back, but I wasn't back. So I was working out of.
Because everyone was working at home.
Correct. Everybody was working from home. That was hard because I feel like working from home. For me, I feel like I am half-assing work and half-assing home.
Yeah.
I'm not quite full-assing
right.
anything.
To quote Ron Swanson.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe that's my perception. Maybe people think that, it's been fine.
What I do all day.
But it's been interesting going back because one, I feel like when I'm there, I'm in work mode. I can get shit done. I feel like I'm more productive. It may not be the actual case, but my mindset is that I'm getting more shit done.
Yeah, even if you're in just that environment, you're like talking to even like the interstitial talking to people in between, like on being on your computer and stuff. You're like actually still technically working because you're talking to.
Right.
You can literally talk to them. You don't have to call them, or message them on GChat. Yes.
Or doing the Google Meet.
Yes.
Which I'm still doing because I'm still working with a lot of people out of California.
Yeah. Do you guys is it just Google Meet or not Zoom?
We do not use Zoom. We just use Google Meet.
Is there a specific reason for that?
Because we're all Gmail.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Our emails are all through Gmail.
Yeah.
We will use sometimes GoToMeeting.
Gotcha.
Well, now we're doing commercials, I guess.
And GoToMeeting.
But yeah, no, Zoom has always been, it's been more of like a personal stuff.
Do you want something funny?
Yeah.
I was worried we weren't going to talk for long enough.
Really?
Yeah.
You think that once we got started, we wouldn't talk enough?
I don't know. It's late.
Because I was in a very bad mood when I got home.
You had a long day, man.
It wasn't that I had a long day.
That's not true. It was a hard day.
It was, I am frustrated because since coming back, I feel, and this is only coming from my feelings of things, I feel like I took a step back career-wise in order to move back here. And that is frustrating for me because I did take a step forward and have to take like 2 steps back. I feel like I'm...
But that might fall into the same category as the pandemic caused that. Because, but nothing anybody could say can make you think that it wasn't. You know, like you're blaming yourself for it a little bit.
Right.
But, you know, doing the job that you have, if the pandemic didn't happen, you would be, you know, doing what you came back here to do. And like, you wouldn't be you wouldn't be feeling 2 steps backward. Like, you know what I mean?
I would hope so. And that's what everybody's been saying, or you and my mom, essentially the only 2 people that I talk to. That's not true. I talked to a couple other friends too. 2 other friends.
You got your 5.
But yeah, that's what you guys have been saying is that like this is because of the pandemic, and you can't say what would have happened or could have happened had the pandemic not happened. But again, it's just,
or if we were out of the pandemic, or like we should be. For me, the depression is it rears its head in different ways, which is why I'm back on medication. Is that I don't consider myself an angry person, but I get so angry these days, and I can't pull myself out of that. So out of that mindset, which is why I need that help from, again, like it's not anti-anger, but I feel like the depression makes me angry, so it's helping me get out of that. Yeah, it's weird because, well, also you're much more of an extrovert than I. Like I'm a total introvert, but even being trapped in these walls, like at a certain point, you're like, okay, I can't fucking do this every single day. Time means nothing.
Yeah.
And you know, as much as I like want to blame it on other stuff because I don't want to like socialize or whatever, because that's just not in my brain to want to do. You still gotta like it's part of our DNA as humans to want to socialize and get out and talk to people because, you know, endorphins running all the time. Like even just doing this is fun for me.
Yeah.
And we're in the same place that
this is what we would be doing anyway.
Yeah.
Except we have microphones in our hands.
Cat. Except we would be watching Designated Survivor.
We would be.
Which we are almost done with. By the way, side note, told my parents to start Umbrella Academy.
So good, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to listen. So...
Well, our tastes only overlap
it's 50-50.
halfway. It's 50-50.
But I gave them the in of it's a great soundtrack.
Nice.
Which is, you know, so.
It gets your dad's mind.
And also, I'm not a sci-fi fantasy guy, but great writing and great characters.
Correct. It's characters, very character driven.
Characters welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. Very character driven. But anyway. Shout out to Umbrella Academy at the end. We could talk forever.
We could. So, you could make this into 2 episodes. If you really want.
I could. Part 1, P2, P1, P2.
P1, P2. So again, I think we need to be able to talk about where our mind goes, where it wanders, where it tries to lead you in a way that is productive. Because I think sometimes when people talk about, this is not all the time, but I feel like sometimes when people start talking about mental health, it's a way to kind of dwell in it rather than move forward and try to be better. I feel like sometimes people use, and this is, again,
they're martyrs.
I keep giving qualifications, not qualifications.
Well, there's a word for it, but yeah, you're saying that people
this is not all of the case, but I feel like sometimes people like to, they use it as an identifier. They grab onto it. It becomes their whole identity when it shouldn't be. It should just be a small part that you can then grow and learn and move away from at some point.
Yeah, no. And that's why I wanted to do this, because people don't talk about it. I can talk about music all day too, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I don't think people can really, and people can relate to it. And they want to know what's going on behind the scenes. But this is where I'm at right now in my life, that I want to talk to people like this.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff we hadn't never even talked about.
Right.
I think that's true. Yeah, maybe a few things here and there, but
I feel like we've talked about most
and
of
we
this.
You know, for the record, quote unquote, like each other.
What?
So
news to me.
News flash. But yeah, so we could totally do another one, but you're gonna have to do that another time.
Yeah.
Another time.
Another different time.
I have a weird stutter too. You've noticed this. You must have noticed this.
A little bit.
That on certain syllables I stutter. It used to be much worse without the meds.
Really?
Yeah, it's because my family, we're all working really quickly and
you trip over your own thoughts.
Yeah.
Can't get them out of your mouth fast enough.
Yeah. But here we are. Anyway, our cat's being adorable.
It's made you quick-witted though.
Sure.
You can come up with jokes,
dude,
on everything.
Yeah, but how helpful is that in society?
But sometimes sometimes it's needed. Sometimes a little levity is needed.
But I still feel like we don't really need to talk about anything else because we've talked for long enough. But there are times I just feel constantly like I'm just, and again, because I told you the reason I want to start this podcast the other day, we were in line waiting at Kroger, and I told you that when people say my name, I think my brain automatically goes to "you're an idiot." Remember? Because I have negative connotations with my name, because coaches would yell it and scream it at me when I did something wrong. Mm-hmm. And I was a kid. I was a kid.
Yeah. Which
is very formative years, and I never put my finger on what that was until a couple days ago, last week. You know what I mean?
Yesterday?
Yeah. And it took, and maybe if I'd seen the right therapist at some point, that would have happened. But, again, negative connotation. It seems that like mental health and like getting help are like way down on the priority list as far as things that need to do to get to do the American dream, quote unquote, to have the American dream, quote unquote.
Well, it seems like a luxury when it's not. It is it's as essential as a regular doctor.
Right, because it controls everything that you do.
Everything is interconnected. Yeah. Your mental health affects your physical health.
Right. Totally.
Everything. It's all
so
all connected.
Weird. Yeah, it's almost backwards the way that trainers and coaches, they're like, okay, you got to eat this stuff, and you go, no. You start with your brain. Are you there? Because if you're there, right, ready to start losing weight, because of course you have to get to a certain mental spot, and but yeah, that's what
something has to click mentally for everything else to fall in line.
Yeah.
When you get to a point where you are mentally ready to make the decision, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to exercise, I am going to do all these things, then it clicks and it works and it does really well. And
people have varying, like some people can push through other stuff, and like people have varying degrees of that. Like they need a lot of time before they can get their mind wrapped around, okay, this is my new lifestyle, like this is what I eat, this is
well, it takes them a while of seeing it as a good thing and not a negative thing. I can't have this thing. I can't do this. I can't do that. Rather than be like, I get to do this. I get to do that.
And like part of my thing for dieting because I love,
food is a comfort.
Alcohol could be taken away forever. I don't need it. Like I can never get addicted to alcohol the way I'm addicted to food. Yeah. Also partially because you need food, but part of the reason like dieting is because it comes from me thinking, like part of it is because my brain I thought like an anxious person. My feelings didn't push like the way that they did, but after I took medication and I stopped getting that feeling in my stomach, the anxious thoughts were still there. But they weren't like I wasn't anxious. Like it was just the way my mind needed to deal with.
It was a habit.
It had to cope. Yeah, it was a coping mechanism. So part of being anxious is that you think what's happening right now is going to last forever. And that was part of why I wasn't dieting, because I was like, oh, I have to do this forever. I have to diet forever. And it's like, no, you can do it for like 3 weeks, or you can do it for like a week, and then whatever, you know what I mean? But it's just about every day doing something that's in the right direction.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's kind of...
Again, it's like one of those things where diet to me has such a negative connotation, where it should just like, I need to start eating healthy. Is what needs to happen.
Yes.
And that's different in my mind. When someone says like, oh, I'm going on a diet, I'm like, oh, well, what are you taking out? Like, what are you restricting? What are you giving up? And that's it. You gotta flip your mind into thinking that I'm just like eating healthy instead of like I'm taking something away. But I'm not in a space that I can do that right now. So food is what I'm holding on to, and I hate that that's true about myself, and I hate that none of my clothes fit anymore, and that I don't get to wear soft clothing when I have to go into the office, which is making me feel uncomfortable all day.
Right, yeah.
And of course, my mind goes to everybody thinking what I'm thinking, that I'm fat, that I am not attractive, that that girl needs to be wearing different clothes now. Like, and nobody cares. Nobody is thinking that. Nobody is that consumed about me except for me. Like, nobody cares.
That's it too, man. That's part of it too. It's like people are just in it for themselves, and if that includes you, then I guess they'll think about you for a second,
and then they're immediately onto their own thing.
They have their own shit, man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Anyway, we should wrap it up.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, bye.